Hello, my name is Nicole Gautier. In my presentation, I am focusing on the honeybee communication system compared to human communication. Earlier in the video, Devin talked about openness, which is the ability to add new words, phrases, and other meaningful units to a language. This is present in human communication, but is non-existent or strictly limited in other animals. In my topic of the honeybee, bees have their own type of dance where they can produce almost an unlimited amount of messages about the distance, direction, and quality of a food source, but this is the extent of their productive communication. Bees cannot be productive about any other features of their environment. In human communication, linguistic forms such as words and sentences have an arbitrary relationship to their meaning. This simply means that a word such as fire in spoken, written, or signed form has no direct relationship to the concept of fire. This can be proven in theory because different languages will have different words for this concept. When you study the bee's dance, you can tell that the direction of the dance indicates a non-arbitrary relationship. This means there is a direct relationship. The direction of a bee's run is the same direction as the nectar source when the bee is dancing outside the hive on the landing platform. Devin also talked about how birds, along with humans, are opposite because they all have an arbitrary relationship. They have no direct relationship. Stimulus-bound refers to behavior that occurs only as a result of a specific trigger or occurrence. When a bee finds a source of food, they will always decide to go after it, never ignore it. According to our textbook by Bruce Rowe, a healthy animal cannot ignore these indulgences. They are genetically programmed to respond in very specific ways in response to events that happen in their environment. This proves that the bees, in fact, are stimulus-bound. If a specific stimulus is to occur, the bee will react with a specific behavior. On the other hand, human communication and linguistic messages are almost always controlled by internal concepts, not directly by the external stimuli. An example showed in our book states a conversation between two humans. An Australian sees a grub worm and says to a friend, "What a nice snack." A Manhattanite who sees the same type of worm might respond, "Yuck." When this happened, the environment was responsible for initiating the communication, which in the end was not fixed by the stimulus. This proves that human communication is not stimulus-bound like that of the bees. When bees start to communicate, it is generally because they are forced to through direct stimuli. Bees can then continue to communicate with each other once that stimuli is gone. After the bee does its dance for nectar, it may still continue to do so just at a distance away from this food. This ability in bees is called displacement. Displacement is defined by the textbook as the ability to communicate about things at times other than the present, along with communicating about things not directly in front of them. The ability for displacement in non-human communications is strictly limited. In humans, it is the opposite. Humans can communicate about the past, the present, and even the future. Humans can tell lies and talk about made-up things. Humans have a tendency to make up fictional or false things, which is called prevarication. This does not exist in bees' communication. The only exception for bees would be to fake a condition like death to confuse a predator. Bees can also mimic sounds of other species. Both of these attacks are similar to lying, just like the human. The Introduction to Linguistics textbook tells us the main difference is that non-human animals lie because of genetic pre-programming, whereas humans learn to die. The actual communication of a honeybee is much different than human communication. The honeybee finds its source of food and then travels back to its home nest. It then begins to do a dance on or inside the hive. This dance is called the round dance. This dance is performed to indicate that the source of nectar is within 20 feet of its hive. It contains no directional information, it only arouses other bees. The sickle dance is performed to indicate that the source of nectar is within 20 to 60 feet of the hive. Lastly, the tail wagging dance is performed to indicate that the source of nectar is beyond 60 feet from the hive. Once the bees do their dance, other bees are then stimulated to fly over around the hive and search for the smell that the dancer has brought from its food source. Carl von Fritsch was the first to decode the dances of the honeybees. His findings showed that once a bee returned from its source of food, it does the Schwalbenz dance or the wiggle dance. The female bee wags her abdomen as she runs straight for a distance while making a sound with her wings. She continues this in a figure-8 rotation. This dance indicates specific movements, and these movements let other bees in the hive know where the scout bee found the food source. Bees' system of communication is capable of allowing an infinite number of different messages, just like human communication. But unlike human language and communication, bee communication is confined to a single subject, the location of nectar compared to the hive. This is the only code that could be sent. According to Linguistics article, Animal Systems of Communication, the bee's dance is basically an instinct-driven response to an external stimuli, just like our laughter, sneezes, or tears, but unlike our words. In the 1940s, Frisch found that honeybees can communicate the direction, distance, and quality of a food source to members of their hive through these elaborate dances. Another important factor in this is something called pheromone. Bees produce this and leave it at the source of their nectar to direct other bees to the site. This is a chemical secreted by an individual and acts on another to alter that individual's behavior. Once these bees find the source, they also bring back the scent of the source, which helps the bees even further. Altogether, there are several indicators of where bees' food could be located: the dance, pheromone, and the smell of food itself. This is called redundancy. Redundancy exists when the same message is encoded in different ways. This helps the bees just in case one way of transportation happens to not work. In order for any type of communication to take place, a receiver must detect the sender's message. This message is placed into a code, and in the bee's case, this is the dance. Communication occurs if the receiver then decodes the message that is sent. This happens once the bees finish this dance and other bees can find the source. The general pattern of bee dancing is innate. This can be argued to an extent, but it is proven and stated in our textbook that if a bee is introduced to a hive, it will learn to do the dances, but not to equal precision. A bee needs a couple of hours of experience before it accurately reenacts another bee's dance. In the end, a bee's communication skills are innate. The bees' ways of travel can be seen as confusing, but with the expertise of their dances, it is actually pretty simple. Bees have their own way of communicating just like humans do. It may be different, but in the end, it gets the job done. The next in our video will be Roxanne, and she will be talking about ape communication.